Hey guys, welcome to CS50 Mario Rest Comfortable walkthrough explanations and solutions. So this is the today oral sections that we're going to talk about. So the Mario Rest Comfortable program, the pseudocodes, and the solution explanations. Please make sure you pause the video before you go to the solutions. Okay, so the program we're gonna do is something like a you type the dot slash Mario. The program gonna put out the height. The user gonna key in the value here. So the value for the program will take the value between 1 to 8, inclusively 1 and 8, to run to print out the hashes structures here. So for example, the user key in 1, so we print in 1 hashes, 8, and there will be 8. I mean 8 type, it's kind of the symbols of the hashes. So for example, if you type in a different value out of the 1 and the 8 range, so what will happen? So basically the program is gonna reprop the user if the value is not from 1 to 8. For example, you key in 1, reprop, 0, reprop, 42, reprop, 50, reprops. Only 4, because 4 is 1, is is the value between 1 and 8, the range, so you print out something like that. So this is the structures. You can see the hatches at the back. So the more hatches will be the front here. So the row will still maintain the same. You can see there's actually 8 row here. So there's a 4 row here, right? So this is something the structures of the program and the printout result. So in these pseudocode, we're going to include these two libraries, the CS50 and the CS50 standards io.h. So the to-do list will be, first we're gonna provide the height value, ask the user to key in 1 and 8. So for example, this is we're gonna put the dot here so you guys can able to see clearly and much easily to understand. So we will divide this into two structures here, the loop 2 and loop 3, because this is a loop 1, a loop 2, and the loop 3 is here. So we call this as a last align pyramids, the large value to the small value. So the right align pyramid, the small value to the large value. So every row that we print here, we'll we'll print a new line here. So a new line is here. So at last, we're going to convert those dots to the empty spaces. Okay. So first, we go through the height. So the user, we're going to key in value within 1 and 8. 1 and 8. Okay. 1 is okay. 4 is okay. 8 is okay. So if the user brought in something between this here, so we basically will reprop the user. The 4 is okay. So we just put it in the flow charts. The program will start, user input some value to the height. So the program will actually do a checking here. Okay, if the height is less than 1, for example, -1 here, -1 is less than 1. Yes, you will reprop again. So for example, 0 is less than 1. Reprop again. 50. Okay, the second condition is the height is more than 8. So 50 is more than 8. So we reprop again. So you notice there's actually the patterns here. You can see is mm, height less than 1. Any value than less than 1 is yes, or value that height is more than 8 is a loop here. So these two is a yes conditions. That's why we put two conditions here. If no is for example 1 and 8. For example, 1, is it 1 less than 1? No. 1 is not less than 1. That's why we go to the no here. 8 is more than 8? No. 7, is it more than 8? No. So you will go here. So the program will store the value, the height value here. So let's see here how can it, how can we put all these flow charts into the coding. So we have a similar functions, I mean coding, I mean some condition we can follow here. For example, for this example, these two example is actually from CS50, the exercise. So we can actually, for this thing here and here, basically we can use something like a do while loop. Do while loop is something like we prompt the user once, at least once, then we will get the value and test the value. So the program will probably a text here for the user to understand what they need to do. So for example, one, they key in the value here, it will go to the n value because we already decline integer n. So n will store the value here. So the n will be checked whether is it n is less than 1. If n is less than 1, it's true, so it will go through here this loop again, similar what we are having here. If n is not than what not is not less than 1, it will just go out from this loop, which is this. So this is very similar to the program here, but we have additional conditions, which is we have two conditions here. So we can use another example, logical operators. You can see there's two conditions here. This is the OR. Uh, the functions of OR means, is it this OR here? Is it high less than 1 or high more than 0? So this is a very similar. So you can try to think how to construct in the coding. So next we're going to talk about the left and right align pyramid. So we already divide this into loop 2, loop 3. So we can see actually, for example, the user key in the height is 8. The column will be always the same. So the column will be, we call this as a loop 1, the major loop. So for example, the user key in 8, there will be definitely an 8 rule here. So next we're gonna have a loop 2 and loop 3, which is, we call it as the children's. So after we print this loop, then we print another loop. You can notice some patterns here. For example, this is 8, so the h is negative minus 1 is 7. There's actually the 7 columns here. So you can notice there's a one empty column here to sleep here. You can see this very clearly, these portions here. So we can learn how to construct the major loop, the loop 2, and the loop 3. So for example, for the loop, the big loop here. So this is the big loop as I already put here. Integer I equals 0, I less than height. Height is the value that user key in, I plus plus. So this is the very basic loop, the outer loop here. So so this is considered the direct solutions for this small part here. So next we're gonna see how to construct the left aligned pyramid dots. So let's look at this. This is an example from CS50. So you can see they include these two library here. So what this does is actually planning a 3 times 3 grid of block. So there's two loop here. One is the parents loop and the children's loop. So I is equals to 0, I is less than 3, I plus plus. You can see the I is actually representing a column here. So for the j here is j is equal to 0, j less than 3, just plus plus. So we print this. So you can see is j is actually a row here. So how does this function actually print? So step by step. So you will print these three first. The first column here, then the second column here, then the third column here. Alright, so you will print one row, the second row, sorry, first column, second column, and third column here. So this is very important for us to how to construct this. So you can see it here, I just form it here. So the I is actually the row here, J is actually, I is column, J is actually the row here. So this is an example that didn't any link connection to this. So I is equals to 0. So I is less than 7, I plus plus, because 0 to 6 is actually the 7th column. So how we kind of form this, actually column is very easy. For row, how we're gonna do is this order here. So actually it's very simple. We just put the I here to link with this here. You can see, so we can see plus plus, of course, from small to big. So you can see these functions, this loop here, j equals to -1, j is less than I. So for example, the first row we put 0, I is equal to 0, so j is equals to -1. So -1 is less than 0, it's correct, that's why we print 1 here. So if I is equals to 1, so j -1, so -1, is it -1 less than 1? So just write down, yes. So you print 1, so you plus, so it's 0 less than 1. Yes, it's true, 0 is less than 1, so print number 2. So this is how we form this structure here. So after that, every line that we print, for example, this A, we print a new line, AA, we print another new line. This is how we form these structures. So how can we like some twist to these directions here? So basically we use the same concept. We just put the I here, you can see something linked with here. Then you see it's actually more to less, so we put negative here. So let's put example. So 0, so 0, I is equals to 0, j is negative, is for example h -1 is 7, is more than 0. So it will print 7, it will print 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then you print a new line here. Then this one will increase the value. For example, it will still be 7 here, it will be 1 here. So you will reduce 1a here. Then after we print a new line here. So after one point, you will print something like this, the 7. So we put one more example. You see 7 here is 7. Is 7 more than 7? No. So imagine here this loop. This is we skip this part here, but we still print this row here. That's why you can see we still print the empty row here. So this is how the empty row here is formed. So next we go to the right align pyramid hashes. So we just put I already put the how is it, we change the k and I here. I will be the parents. So this parent is the same. This is the same as the previous slide. So what we're gonna do is after we print this row here, we just add another loop here to print this, the children's loop. Still within the children loop. Then we'll just increase this here. After that, after each loop, we're gonna print a new line, and new line, so on. This is very common sense that we're gonna plus the value is increasing, so this is understandable. I put a question mark here is I want you to really think how we're gonna set conditions here and here, right? What is the value here? Try to think, is actually quite, maybe we can link with j or maybe the I. So obviously something we're gonna do with the I here because it's still the row here. Or maybe you think is it the J? Yeah, try to think. Actually, it's I saw here it's quite obvious to understand what is the value here. So after that, we print all these. We're able to construct this. What we're gonna do is we change the dot here. So for example, here we change. We're gonna print the dot. We change the dot here to the empty space. Actually, here got one. I just press the space bar here. Actually, this is actually the empty. I mean symbols here. So that's why we change. That's how we change the dot to the empty space here. Alright, now pause the video and try to solve it before continuing to the solutions sections. Okay, welcome back. Now we will go into the solution explanation sections. So this is the code that I wrote. So as first, we talk about these two libraries, standard IO CS50. Doesn't matter if the sequence is not the same. So integer main void. So first we're gonna shift this on lower a bit. So first we're gonna use a do while loop. So this one you can see we have to prompt the user for positive integer between 1 and 8, inclusively 1 and 8. So we decline an integer n. So we do a do while loop here. So we use this do while loop. The advantage is to at least prompt the user at least once. So we prompt the user for the height. So after the user key in any value here, we're gonna get the n gonna store the value and check these conditions. Is it the n is less than 1 or n is more than 8? We can just do some example here. Let's see. So if the user key in is not within the range, for example -1, we prompt the user 0, we prompt the user 9, we prompt the user, and so on. And for example, we put in 8. Yep, this is what you want. Okay, so let's see about the next. This is much more tricky. As we talk about, there's a parents loop here. This is the parents one, which is representing the row. For example, the user key in 8. Let's make it bigger here. Just don't put 8, just put 4 here. Okay. So 4 here, 4 here. So the 4 will represent the columns here. There's a 2 loop here, the children loop. This children loop first, for example, as I told you, we're gonna change this to the empty space at last. As first, we're gonna put it a dot here. Now we change it a space here. So as I explained just now, use this kind of n -1, j is more than I, j negative. Because it will be something more value here, then it will be less and less. So that's why there's a j negative here. That's how the first loop works. So we put an empty space here. So for the second one, you can imagine it's getting bigger. The hashes schedule is getting more. So we're gonna put k plus plus. Then either we could put j or the I here. Of course, we're gonna put the I here because the column will still be the same, just that we don't know the sign here. So this is actually you need to somehow play around. So just for you to understand, for example, we put 4 here. 4, for example, for still 0. So 0, -1. Is it the -1 less than, let's put here, okay. -1 less than 0. So this is okay. This is true. So we print 1 hashes here. Okay, so after all, you'll become, the I will become 1, J will still become -1. So we'll print 2 because it's a K plus plus. It will become 0 less than 1, which is both true. 0 is less than 1, so you print 2 here. So you can see you can actually stack in front loop 1, for example loop 2, then loop 3. Instead, loop 3 is actually stacking behind loop 2. So this is how the patterns form. So just put the hatches here. Then always remember the parents, after the parents loop here, this is the after the children's loop here, we must actually include this print a new line here. That's how we print one loop new line. After this one line, we print a new line here, then a new line, and a new line. So yeah, that's how the program works for the Mario less comfortable. Right, thanks for watching and see you next time.